future me here. So the video you guys are about to watch is about the ASRock X570D4U2L2T. This is the one that I was originally going to make and release and then decided not to in favor of a shorter, more concise video. Just something to like not be so lengthy. And this version's actually also cut down as well. It was originally like 40 something minutes long, and I only included the things that I thought were most interesting. And I don't know, I'm gonna let you guys watch it. Viewer discretion is advised. It's pretty long and I don't know, whatever. You guys will let me know your opinion if you like it or hate it, whatever. Or if you want more videos like this. So I'm interested to know what you guys think, and I don't know, enjoy the show. Let's check it out. So to test this motherboard out, I'm going to use an older kit of Dominator RAM. This is only a 16 gigabyte kit, but it runs at 3200 megahertz, and we may not get that on this board, but it'd be worth to try anyway. And then of course, we're also going to be using a Ryzen 5800X to help us through all of this testing. So I'm going to go ahead and get this installed, and I don't know, we'll get it plugged up to a monitor and see what's up. And there she is, the 5800X. This thing is going to be amazing. The previous generation of this board had some heatsink issues where the heatsink would actually overlap the RAM, but that looks like that's been corrected here. Now this is a Dynatronic A19. This is made for servers, particularly this is a 3U heatsink that is made for AM4 specifically. So it could just be that they kept that in mind, and this may not be applicable to some larger heat sinks, but in this case there is definitely a good like 1-inch gap there between the RAM and heatsink, so I don't think we're going to have any issues with other CPU heatsinks blocking the slots like the previous generation. So that's good to see that they did seem to revise that on this board. So I don't think you guys understand just how excited I am to have this motherboard. I was really excited last time when I had the X470 version of this, which is essentially the same thing, except the the M.2 slots are handled slightly differently. The nice thing about this is that all the M.2 slots are actually have 4 lanes dedicated to them, even though the 4-lane M.2 has to share some of that bandwidth with a 10 gig NICs. But I don't plan on using that one anyway for all sorts of reasons. But still, nonetheless, it's really exciting that we have full 4 lanes for each of those M.2s if we need. So, do I have everything plugged in? Oh, and also the bifurcation is also really exciting for me, because that means if I really need high-speed storage, I can always slip in my M.2 HyperX card from Asus to give myself more M.2 support, so I can get some really fast storage going on with like a RAID 0. All right, so this will be first boot, and well, I don't know what to expect. Let's go. Let's see if it turns on by itself. Not looking promising. We may have to jump this thing. I don't know which one of these is power. Maybe that one? Oh, there we go. I totally don't know what I'm doing anymore. All right, so I don't know why it's not booting up, but it looks like I'm getting all sorts of postcodes. So I'm assuming either the RAM is not good, or perhaps it just takes a long time to learn the RAM, because some workstation and server boards have to like do RAM learning or whatever it's called. And we'll give that a minute and see what happens. But so far, I'm not getting any signal from this board, which is a little scary. Okay, so it's still not booting, and it's just cycling through error codes. It hasn't settled on any particular one yet. I'm going to assume it's bad RAM, or not bad RAM, but incompatible RAM. That is most likely the cause of this, which is fine because we don't plan on using this Corsair Dominator RAM in this anyway. This just happened to be a kit that I had laying on the shelf. So what we're going to do is we're just going to swap over to some G.Skill Trident Z memory that's also clocked at 3200 megahertz. However, this is cast latency 14 as opposed to cast latency 16 like the Dominator RAM. So we're going to try this out, and hopefully we have better luck. And if worse comes to worse, then we're going to try one more kit of Corsair memory that is also 3200 megahertz when overclocked, or using XMP profiles. And if that doesn't work, then we're just going to actually have to order RAM off of the qualified vendor list to get this thing to boot. Hopefully we don't have to do that because I really don't want any more DDR4 RAM laying around than I already have. So let's hope this does it. Power, and we'll give it a second. There we go. Now we should, I mean, what's really weird about this situation is that we should be getting output anyway to the display, and we're not. So either maybe the display is not working or it's not on the right source, but we should be getting something. It should post at a minimum and at least show us that, hey, this RAM's not compatible or it's not seeing it or something. So that is a bit strange. It seems to be doing some sort of countdown. It's at 43 now and counting down, 41, 40. Not sure what that's all about. And now it seems to be spitting out all sorts of codes really, really quickly. 15, C8, 43, 90A. There's a lot of codes going on here. Really, really skeptical about this RAM situation. A little nervous. All right, so let me catch you guys up to what's going on. So I removed 2 sticks of RAM. I only have 2 sticks of the Trident Z memory in here, and it seems to be booting up. I'm not really sure. However, what I ended up having to do is actually connect this thing to the network. So I'm actually accessing this motherboard through the IPMI port on the back, and I have it pulled up behind me through the web browser. I'm still not getting display out, and I've also tried with a graphics card just in case, and nothing. The display doesn't light up. So I'm going to see what I can do here through the BMC to see if I can get this thing to boot or maybe even update the BIOS, and we'll go from there. So I'll catch you up again once I get everything figured out. I think we're golden. So I just finished updating the BIOS through the web UI provided by the BMC, and I am seeing graphics now on my monitor. So I think we're good to go. Oh, my USB is actually working now. Wasn't working before. Yep, and there's the BIOS, and I missed it so fast. Holy cow. Let's go ahead and remove this USB thumb drive because we don't need it. All right, so I don't know how well you guys are able to see, but it is coming up. It is doing its little detection of all of the subsystems. There we go. I think I got it in that time. I think. It is so fast. No, I missed it again. Man, this is crazy. So after we get past this first little sequence here, I'm just going to start mashing. Once we get past it, I'm just going to mash delete until we can get in, because this thing is quick. 3, 2, go, 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 go. I hope delete's the right key. I think I did it. All right, we're in. So awesome. So it's detecting my 2 Trident Z sticks of memory in here, which is awesome. And it sees the 5800X. So I'm guessing this thing needed a BIOS flash to actually work with the 5800X and did not come Ryzen 5000 ready, which is okay, I suppose, depending how long this was sitting on shelves. And we are showing a total 16 gigs. All right, that's good. So let's see what we can actually do with this motherboard and the BIOS. I'm actually really particularly interested in this because I would like to run my RAM at higher clock speeds if I can. But that's probably not possible, and I doubt there is any overclocking support for our CPU because this is a workstation board. Okay, so I wanted to get a little bit closer for you guys so you can actually see. So I've clicked on, I'm under Advanced and then AMD PBS, and then that is where we can see the bifurcation support for this motherboard on that top rail. Which is awesome, and there's loads and loads and loads of other settings in here that I'm sure you guys are interested in, but I am not. I am actually curious to know about this AMD overclocking. So we can do CPU overclocking, which is freaking perfect. If we need to, we can up our frequency and also our voltages. I don't think I'm gonna do that quite yet, although in my current server that I plan to use this motherboard to replace with, I am already overclocking the 3700X that's in there, albeit it's a hell of a lot easier than manual. So this looks like this is our RAM Eco mode is disabled. Precision overboost. Okay, let's go ahead and go straight for the memory because that is what I really, really want to do. So we don't want to do... Okay, so I don't want to actually play with all of the memory clocks. I'd rather just try and hit the fastest speed available. It looks like this goes all the way up to 4,000 megahertz, which is incredible. Unfortunately, my memory only goes up to 3,200 megahertz. I probably could overclock it more, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to stick with 3,200 megahertz and see what happens. So I wonder, power options, power down enabled. I'm not enabled or disabled DDR power down mode. I have no idea what that is. We are not going to touch it. I'm not sure what any of the rest of these options are, but this Infinity Fabric frequency thing could be pretty awesome if we had like a gaming computer built out of this workstation board. I don't know why you would do that, but we could increase the FC clock or the F clock here, which could give us better performance, but I'm not sure if we're going to even see that in a server type application. But it does look like it is possible to get that Infinity Fabric in a 1-to-1 timing with our DDR4 memory, which is amazing. So it looks like there's actually a lot of LN2 mode. Wow. Looks like there's a lot of good options in here for precision overboost is here. Looks like everything that we would need for overclocking is actually here. So for you overclockers, this would probably be a pretty cool board. Although I doubt the VRAM and all the other, or VRAM, not VRAM. I doubt all the, wow, I can't even think of the capacitors, whatever the hell they're called. The capacitors on here are probably not that good, so you probably couldn't do extreme overclocking by any means, but something casual as getting your 3200 kit or 3600 megahertz kit working would definitely happen with ease. So we would be able to update the BIOS from here. That is why I had the flash drive earlier, because I was thinking about doing that if that was necessary. Let's see what options are under storage. We have RAID mode and HCI. I wish it would tell you what these SATA controllers were. I have a feeling that the SATA controllers are actually could be Marvell. That's pretty common for ASRock. See our M.2 slots. PCI devices power on. This looks like, oh wow. Look at all these sensors, my God. Wow, this is pretty cool. So we have all sorts of, we have a motherboard temperature, we have card side temperature, CPU temperature, we have onboard LAN temperature, x570 chipset temperature, 81 degrees Celsius. Wow, we are going to need some cooling on this ASAP. 81 degrees Celsius. Their CPU is sitting at 62, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys noticed, I do have the resistor on there, so the Dynatron Volumetron isn't so loud. We are seeing RAM temperature right now. This is pretty awesome. Look at that. Our CPU fans at 1400 RPM. So what's actually funny is I didn't see anywhere in the manual for a CPU fan. They are all labeled system fan, with the exception of two. There are two that are specifically labeled as chassis fan. I don't know if that was on purpose, an oversight, or what. So I just plugged into fan 3, which is the closest port to the CPU, in hopes that that is the correct one. All right, so there is one last thing I want to do before we call it quits here. I want to try my Corsair Dominator RAM just to see if this is compatible. I'm actually really curious to know. Again, this is just extra RAM that I have laying around that I no longer use. I don't think I'm going to use the cast latency 14 memory for this in the future because, again, this isn't a gaming system. This is like for server applications. And I don't even know if there's a way to prove that if better cast latency and higher clock speeds actually bring any performance gains in a server-esque type situation. We will be running some game servers, and that might be a cause for some improvement, but I would not have any idea to how to actually like capture metrics on that to prove that we have in fact received some kind of performance impact, whether good or bad. So I'm just going to go with my gut and say that if there is any performance impact from having better timings or whatever it may be, it would be either not noticeable or negligible altogether. Now, we could do some tests in Windows, however, like with games, but that's not the point of this system. Like it's going to be in the server situation and hosting things, and I don't know if those gains from gaming actually carry over to server applications or whatever. So we'll see what happens, but I definitely want to try this out really quickly while I have you guys' attention, hopefully still. So I got an error code immediately that looks like B1. I don't think it likes the Dominator memory, or maybe it's like, hey, whoa, something's up. There's different memory in here. Check it out. But at least it's not beeping at me. I wonder if the speaker is disabled by default. And we're also not seeing anything on the monitor, so I'm going to give it a quick reboot. Immediately gave me the same error code. So it looks like this particular kit of Corsair memory is not compatible with this motherboard. And just to be sure, because I did put all 4 sticks in here, I am going to switch back over to the Trident Z or G-Skill memory. Alright, so this is making me a bit nervous already, because if it doesn't work with the Corsair Dominator memory, it's probably not going to work with the other Corsair RAM that I intend to put in here. I have 64 gigs of Vengeance 64 gigs of Vengeance LPX. You know, this is like cheap, right off the shelf stuff. This is 3200 megahertz. I have a 64 gig setup that I want to use for this, and if it's not working with the Dominator, it probably isn't going to work with this, which is kind of scary. And I don't remember seeing this on the qualified vendor list, so man, if we have to buy a whole nother kit of RAM, I'm going to be upset. Okay, on the plus side, it looks like it's also giving me the same error code when all 4 slots are occupied, which is very interesting. I wonder if we're going to have to like clear the CMOS or totally make this thing lose power. That's such a weird situation to be in. Okay, so I cleared the CMOS, and hopefully it works with the Corsair memory in there. That will probably do the trick, more than likely. We're about to find out. Looks like it might be doing some memory learning here, because it is doing the countdown or initialization, which is taking a little bit longer than it was previously. However, my hopes are a little bit higher now that we've cleared the CMOS. Okay, so it just recycled itself. It may not like this Corsair memory. Looks like we're going through another boot cycle right now. Yep. That's not good. Okay, so it must have been doing some learning there, because it did finally come up with the memory. All right, sweet. So I think we're going to call this video here. This looks like it's going to work out in my favor. I'm sorry I can't take my eyes off the screen, because I am just so excited to use this thing and getting up and running. Now, the next video I make will be with this motherboard and in an unrated server. We won't be using 3800X for that, because I have other plans for the 3800X. And I would recommend staying tuned if you want to see that build all come together, because I think that would be really cool. And with all that being said, I want to thank each and every single one of you for watching, and I will see you all next time. Alright, finally, now I can play with this thing and actually learn how to use it.